launched here in New York in September. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Switzerland for their statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of China.
President, I thank Deputy Special Coordinator Hardy for his briefing. Last Wednesday, because of the lone U.S. veto, the Council's efforts to push for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza were once again thwarted. In the days that followed, hundreds more civilians lost their lives in Gaza. With each passing day, the situation is worsening, moving into an even more dangerous direction. We saw that on November 21st, in an early morning Israeli attack of a residential area in Beit Lahia, North Gaza, dozens of women and children were killed in their sleep. On the 23rd, Israel again attacked the Kamal Adwan hospital in North Gaza, causing further serious damage to the only remaining medical facility in the north, and newborn babies lost their oxygen supply and went into cardiac arrest. On the 24th, Israel issued an emergency evacuation order for the eastern part of Gaza City, and a large number of people were forced to flee overnight, and they were being displaced yet again. Also, in the past few days, Israel continued its indiscriminate bombardment of south and east Lebanon, repeatedly striking the densely populated urban area of Beirut, leveling large areas of villages and leaving hundreds of innocent civilians in flames. Accompanied by the paralysis of the Council is the war machine going at full throttle. The facts show that the Council's continued delay will mean even greater destruction and civilian casualties. The Council cannot afford to pause and wait. It must seize every minute and take all necessary actions at the earliest opportunity. First, it must promote an immediate, unconditional, and lasting ceasefire. A ceasefire is an essential precondition for saving lives and cannot be linked to any issue. Insisting on preconditions for a ceasefire means condoning the continued killing of innocent civilians and giving the green light for prolonging the war. Second, barriers to humanitarian access must be removed. The fulfillment of international humanitarian law is a non-negotiable obligation and cannot be a bargaining chip. Israel must lift all restrictions on access, cease the implementation of and revoke its bill against UNRWA, and effectively guarantee the access and safe distribution at scale of humanitarian supplies throughout Gaza. Third, unilateral actions that undermine the basis of the two-state solution must be rejected. The implementation of the two-state solution on the basis of international law and Security Council resolutions is the only viable way to resolve the Palestinian question. In order to preserve the prospects for the two-state solution, the barbaric expansion of illegal settlements in the West Bank must be halted, and any dangerous attempt to annex the West Bank must be rejected. The future arrangements for Gaza must be premised on an Israeli withdrawal and be decided by the Palestinian people through their own consultations. Any change in Gaza's demographics and territory is unacceptable. Fourth, a wider regional conflict must be stopped. The situation in the Middle East is already precarious, and Israel must abandon its obsession with the use of force and cease its aggression and provocative adventures against Lebanon, Syria, Iran, and other countries. And UNIFIL is authorized to carry out its mandate in accordance with the Council resolutions, and all parties should respect and guarantee the safety of UNIFIL personnel and facilities. President, as has been said by the Deputy Special Coordinator, the Gaza conflict is the biggest stress test the United Nations has ever faced in the Middle East. In our view, this stress test is the first and foremost a test for the Council members. It tests their ability to save lives and maintain peace. It tests their determination to uphold international rule of law, fairness, and justice. It tests their willingness to safeguard the authority of the Council's mechanisms and resolutions. So far, due to the negative attitude of some countries, the Council's performance did not pass the test. We call on the individual country to face up squarely to its responsibilities and support the Council in using all options in the toolbox to take further action so as to achieve an immediate ceasefire and restore peace. Thank you, President.
I thank the representative of China for their statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Madam President. I thank Mohamed Hadi, Deputy Special Coordinator, for his briefing. The continuation of the conflict in the Gaza Strip, which has gone on for more than a year now, is horrendous for civilians who are forced to accept a life they really do not deserve. Despite this unfortunate scenario, the end of the conflict is not in sight, especially as the parties are not adhering to their responsibilities outlined in international law, international humanitarian law, and international human rights law. It's saddening to note that the laws designed to inject some semblance of humanity into conflict situations are outrightly disregarded and flagrantly violated. Additionally, the resolutions passed by this Council, including 2712, 2720, 2728, and 2735, have not been implemented, and other efforts to clearly address the situation, including efforts to institute an immediate and unconditional ceasefire just to save lives, have not been fruitful. This conflict has brought a high humanitarian cost, with increased civilian casualties and massive destruction in the Gaza Strip. We have witnessed a dangerous progression with civilians and civilian objects particularly targeted. The principles of humanity, distinction, precaution, and proportionality, repeated incalculably in this chamber by various Council members, have not been respected since the start of the conflict. Madam President, as stated by OCHA, the current siege on the northern Gaza Strip has lasted for more than 40 days, and conditions for survival diminish by the day. Attempts by humanitarian workers to assist the people in the north are frequently denied or impeded. Bakeries and kitchens are not operational, and civilians cannot access the nutritional support they need to remain healthy. Water and sanitation services also remain restricted. Reports from the West Bank are also alarming due to airstrikes, raids, and persistent settler violence, leading to displacement, intimidation, and harassment. Access restrictions in certain areas are affecting children who are compelled to forego their educational development because the opportunities simply do not exist. Simmering tensions in the region continue to escalate as fighting between Israel and Hezbollah intensifies in Lebanon. In this regard, we are appalled by the wounding of 4 UNIFIL peacekeepers as a result of Hezbollah rocket fire. We also deeply regret the deaths of the hospital director and 5 paramedics a few days ago. We welcome ongoing diplomatic efforts to achieve a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. What we are witnessing in the Gaza Strip and the Middle East region is not just unacceptable, but it's a reflection of a deeper systemic acceptance of injustice, oppression, and impunity. Thus, to end this tragedy and the catastrophic humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, Sierra Leone reiterates its call for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, which, in our considered view, will create the pathway not only to save lives, but also for meaningful diplomatic engagement to take place. We also reiterate that all hostages held by Hamas since October 2023 are to be immediately and unconditionally released. We further call for unimpeded humanitarian assistance of food, medicine, medical equipment, and other vital supplies to civilians in need, and request that commodities needed to assist humanitarian workers and ensure hospitals and other critical infrastructures are operational be made available. We acknowledge that a long-term settlement of this conflict will require a political situation to be agreed through a negotiated settlement. Therefore, we look forward to the urgent resumption of the diplomatic negotiations facilitated by the United States, Qatar, and Egypt, and appeal to conflicting parties to exercise political courage and willingness to engage. In closing, we will continue to stress the need for accountability and justice for the victims of atrocities and all breaches of international law through appropriate international legal mechanisms. In this light, we call for adherence to the decisions of the International Court of Justice on the conflict in Gaza. It's our fervent hope that now more than ever, the two-state solution can be realized with Israel and Palestine